Dear Diary, well, it's time for the biggest match in my managerial career, the UEFA Champions League final. Thankfully, we're playing a team and manager I have a superb recent record against, so hopefully that continues and we can keep Manchester City away from another European trophy. In terms of the end of the domestic season, it wasn't as good as last year in the Cups, but we lifted the Premier League off the back of Liverpool losing at West Ham with 2 matches to go. That means we have a nicely rested first team for this final, albeit Cassie did pick up a training injury, so we might not risk him for the big one. It's an exciting time as Arsenal look to win their second Champions League in 4 years, and if we get the job done, then I think I've completed English football. Let's do this. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 106 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Arsenal, and coming up today is our first Champions League final of the save. We take on the former Arsenal manager in Sergio Conceição and his Manchester City team, a team who so far in this save we do have a very good record against, so hopefully we can pick up our first European trophy of the save. If we do that, that will probably be the end for this series, so if you are looking forward to this Champions League final, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have been enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But off the back of yesterday's episode, the semi-final against Liverpool over 2 legs, if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We did have to finish the Premier League season really only needing one more decent result to pick up the title. As you would have seen through the intro, we did get those results. Actually stumbled a little bit late season, a 1-1 draw against Newcastle, albeit a few hours later. Liverpool, they dropped points away at West Ham. That did mean with 2 games to go in the season, we did have a 7-point gap, so that was the result that did steal us the Premier League title off the back of that. A 0-0 draw at home against Chelsea, and then to finish the season, a 5-3 win away at Bournemouth, able to just make sure any players in those last 2 games that did need a rest got one before this Champions League final, so it was quite a nice end to the season, and around about 2 weeks since that last game as well, so most first team players are fresh going into this Champions League final. But there are the final standings from the Premier League this season. We won the title by 8 points, which I think is exactly the same margin as last year, yet again over Liverpool, West Ham in the Champions League again. It says Newcastle Europa League, but you'd imagine they will end up in the Champions League, as probably will Manchester City, with England having one of the highest coefficients in this save. Leeds United are in the Europa League, having just won the Conference League final. Bournemouth will be in the Conference League next season, and Chelsea, even though they are in 11th, will also be in the Champions League next season, having picked up the Europa League. So that was how the Premier League season finished, as mentioned during the intro. Not quite as successful domestically this past season as we were last time around, when we did pick up a domestic treble. But of course this season we have gone a lot deeper in the Champions League and hopefully can pick up a different kind of treble, the Community Shield, the Premier League and the Champions League. And in this final we are going to take on Manchester City as a team we have a really good record against, as you have seen through that intro so far. We have not lost to these guys since we have joined Arsenal. Hopefully that does continue in today's episode, albeit it is a very good team, in particular up front. Erling Haaland, the obvious player that we do need to keep an eye out on also, as it does seem that they did put out a slightly rotated team, especially at the back, for that most recent game in the Premier League, which they did play. Ruben Dias, their captain, also a player who we probably need to keep an eye out on, but obviously Erling Haaland, so far, we've been able to keep him fairly quiet by tightly marking him. I think we'll try and do the same in this final and hopefully pick up our first Champions League the save. And as I said, that would probably do it, just because there's not much else for us to do in English football off the back of these 2 years that we have spent at Arsenal. And also, we did pick up the championship a few seasons ago when we were at Cardiff City, but just one injury concern that is new going in to this Champions League final. Lamine Cassie in training, some pulled ankle ligaments. He's 1 day away from being fully fit, but still can play 75 minutes of this Champions League final. I think to play things safe, he will start from the bench. It does mean that Wilfred Singo will be our first choice right back for this final, but hopefully we can bring him on late if we do need to, or if Singo does pick up a yellow card and he can make a difference coming from Bayern Munich, being a player who has won the prior to Champions League final, so a good player to have out there potentially in the closing stages. And also Alejandro Balde, his former teammate at Bayern Munich, is back from that injury which kept him out during the course of yesterday's episode as well, so pretty close to full strength, just Cassie on the bench, and of course Ødegaard, broken leg. Definitely not going to feature in this final, but hopefully we can keep up this good record against Manchester City and pick up our first Champions League trophy, our first European trophy of the save, and we'll get into the action shortly for this final from Greece as we try and win the Champions League. And here are the team sheets for this season's Champions League final. We are up first, as I mentioned before, Singo at right back with Cassie having that slight injury concern. Also Vieira in the cam role with no Ødegaard, but those are only two changes to our regular first choice 11 there. Are Manchester City certainly looking a little bit different to what they put out in their most recent game in the Premier League. Do look a lot stronger than what they put out for that game against Nottingham Forest, but hopefully, as I said, our record against these guys so far at Arsenal has been very good. Hopefully that continues and we can pick up a European title. And a very early highlight in this final, it might potentially be in our favour, is a goal kick, albeit we are going to have to play out from the back, and we pick out Balde there at left back in the team after recovering from some recent injury. Some good space down this right hand side here for Wilfred Singo. Takes his time here to get going, starts to make his way inside the final third, just inside the byline, plays that one back to Coop, minus Perret with a shot. It's a decent chance. Mbappe's gone down, pulled knee ligaments. No injury icons popped up yet. There is another highlight, pretty much the same as the previous one, starting from the back. It does look like for now Mbappe can continue. So we do take a little breath there because that was a bit of a worry, but eventually this highlight does start to get going, albeit we do lose out there to Manchester City, and they now try and play out from the back, albeit give the ball away there. Decent chance for Bukayo Saka, but he just puts that one wide for some reason, doesn't try and play for Mbappe there. We'll just check. Injured, but feels he can shake it off, so that is thankful. But some good early chances for us there. Still 0-0 coming up to the 9-minute mark. And very shortly off the back of those two opening chances in our favour now, it's Manchester City here with a throw-in inside our half. Haaland finds Frimpong, good ball there for the former Bayern Munich man in Alfred, but thankfully his shot is saved from Ramsdale. But only a few minutes later, this looks very similar to what we saw before down the other end. It's a throw-in for Manchester City. Thankfully Ramsdale does come out and claim that one. Yet again, a chance for us here to play out from the back. Bamba takes his time, picks out Perret, and now Balde on the ball yet again down that left-hand side. Martinelli does lose out though on possession. Haaland back to Rodrigo. Now Kimmich plays that one over for Abada. Thankfully, we do get the ball back, albeit just clear it deep, and Manchester City can get their bearings back and try and play out yet again. From the back, Alfred starts to make his way into our half. Now Phil Foden just outside of the box. Good ball there for Haaland. Hits the post, but thankfully was offside. That's now some good early chances for both teams, but still 0-0 coming up to the 15-minute mark. And with only 5 minutes left in this first half, we eventually get one more highlight in it off the back of that early flurry that we did have. Now Singo on the ball here down this right-hand side puts one into the mix. If someone gets their head on the end of that one, couldn't quite pick out the player, but just puts it over the bar. We'll also get Martinelli to ease off tackles. As you can see, overall, Man City, you could argue, have been the better team, but our XG actually the best so far in this final, so it is a little bit of a to and fro game. There's one more highlight though in this first half. Man City with a throw-in on the halfway line. They give that ball though to Mbappe, does quite well to keep it. Perret plays him through, big chance, looking for that bottom right corner, comes off the post. The best chance so far of this first half, but the woodwork does come to the aid of Manchester City, and that means it is still 0-0 at half time, but we certainly had a big late surge in that first half, and in the end do actually look like the more dominant team in this game so far. But two players on yellow cards will take them off. Trincao for Martinelli, also Singo with a late one. We'll see if Lamine Cassie can last for the second 45 minutes. Hopefully he can, otherwise that will be a little bit of a concern. We'll have to bring on someone like Yannick Grass as well. It would be a bit of a wasted substitution, but so far, especially with that finish to the first half, encouraging signs. We'll get things back underway, still locked up at 0-0. And yet again, it's a very early highlight in the second half, and Mbappe starts to make his way forward down this right-hand side. Hopefully he can get off to a similar start as in the first half, but this time put the ball in the back of net. Already Cussy getting involved. We keep the ball here. It's a block shot or cross there from Koopmeiners. Man City try and clear that one away, but thankfully Cussy gets us back in possession. We try and pick up Pere there in a dangerous spot on the edge of the box. They clear it away, but only out to Balde down that left-hand side. Some good work. Pere picks out Trincao. Koopmeiners looks like that top left corner. Also hits the post. Either side of half-time now. The woodwork saving Man City, and it is still 0-0. And up to the hour mark, just that one highlight so far in the second half coming off the woodwork from Koopmeiners, but time for us to make a few substitutions. Mbappe, only on a 6.4. I think we're going to take a risk here and take him off for Manuel Balea. Hopefully don't regret that one. Also, Saliba on a 6.4 as well. We'll bring on Kamara for him. So that's now 4 of our subs used with a half hour left. Still 0-0. And coming up towards the last 10 minutes of this Champions League final, at least before it does go to extra time, still no highlights off the back of that early one to Koopmeiners with that shot that came off the post in the second half. We are going to make our last substitution with those 10 minutes left. We do have Balde down to a red heart. 2 options in Vuskovic and Yakubu. But Yakubu, better penalty taker, so I think we'll think about that early and we'll make that substitution. Yakubu will come on at left back for these last 10 minutes, and hopefully we can grab a winner before this one goes to extra time. And just about to enter injury time in this season's Champions League final. As you can tell by the stats, we have looked like the better team. A lot more shots, albeit not that many on target when you do consider Man City have had a lot less, but still 0-0 in this one is going to extra time. A lot of players now down to red hearts in the midfield. Just looking at our bench options, based on the players available, I have a sneaky suspicion Haig Sterling could do something for us in extra time. He's actually been quite good when we have used him of late, while Odegaard has been injured. So we'll take that risk and bring him on for Vieira in extra time, but pretty happy with how we're playing. But hopefully we'll tell the boys that's not the case and we can get something out of them in this period of extra time before this one goes to penalties. Back underway, still 0-0. And there were no highlights in that first half of extra time, so only 15 minutes left now in this Champions League final. Still looking like the better team, especially based on XG, but so far have not put the ball in the back of the net. Only 15 minutes away from this one going to a penalty shootout. And it's only taken 1 minute of the second half of extra time for us to eventually get a highlight. It's nearly been a good hour in this game since we have had one, but it is Man City here looking to play out from the back. We have gone a bit wider in our attack since the latter stages of that second half of regular time, and also gone to a much higher press because that was actually working against Man City. We did change that for Barcelona and for Liverpool, but of course our recent record against City is quite good. We do get the ball back there down that left-hand side. Now Yakubu looks for Trincao, but unfortunately we do give that one back to Man City, but good work there from Bamba. Picks out Saka around about the halfway line, back to Kamara, Koopmeiners, back to our centre-back. We pick out Cussy down that right-hand side. Hopefully he will last extra time with no more substitutes left. Picks out Sterling, or tries to, down that right-hand side, but unfortunately City do get the ball back. Ederson with a shocker, and Trincao puts it away. That could be the goal that decides this Champions League final, and Ederson has hit an absolute mare, just gives that one to Trincao still. Tricky angle, but puts it away. What a howler. That's Karius-like there from Ederson. Just left himself nowhere near that left-hand corner, and Trincao with a first-time finish does put that one away. While we are here, we'll drop back to cautious and also narrow our attacking width and also slow the pace down in transition. Be a bit more disciplined as well, because hopefully that will mean that City get no chances late in this one, and also might drop that defensive line as well, just to make sure that we are a bit more solid at the back. But what a gift that is in the second half of extra time to put us 1-0 up. And we are inside the last 5 minutes of this Champions League final, the second half of extra time. We do get the ball back there nice and high up the field. Big chance here for Sterling. Gets brought down by Laporte. The ball finds its way into the back of the net, but I think this has been blown up for a penalty, and it looks a stone cold one. Haig Sterling might have come off the bench and will give us a chance to seal this one. The penalty has been awarded. Mbappe off the field, so it does mean Koopmeiners could put this one away to seal a Champions League title. He will. He was very iffy from the penalty spot for us last season, but comes up big when it counts. And that moment of madness from Ederson has really just turned this in our favour. We've started to find our goal scoring touch, albeit pretty fortunate both times with that giveaway and now a penalty. But overall, the stats in the end, very, very much in our favour. And we pick up the Champions League at the first time of asking. Obviously, that was the goal for us right from the start of the season with this very good squad that we did assemble. The additions of Mbappe, Casti and Balde. In particular, our first choice team was always very, very strong, albeit did have to do it without Odegaard in this final, and also Casti having to come off the bench, but still we had a very, very good team, and we pick up a Premier League and Champions League double, also I suppose the Community Shield, to make it yet another treble. But that now means we've won every trophy of significance that we actually want to win here at Arsenal in the space of 2 years. It took until the second half of extra time, but thankfully we get the job done thanks to Trincao and Coop Miners and pick up a 2-0 win in the Champions League final. And back in the inbox off the back of that win in the Champions League final 2-0, obviously not the most impressive display, even though the stats were in our favour, both goals a little bit fortunate, but we'll take it because often FM can screw you over in those situations. Thankfully that one did not go to penalties. Thankfully keep up that good record against Manchester City, because I was quite aware that was the sort of game where FM might decide that needs to end, but we pick up a nice bit of money, praised by the Arsenal supporters. The board are happy with that. They only expected us to reach the quarterfinals. Of course, we didn't even get that far last season when Real Madrid did knock us out in the round of 16. For some reason, Bayern Munich think that we would sell parade of them. To be fair, they might be able to buy him now, because I think that might just about do it for the save, especially with me at the time when this video does get released, heading on holiday in about a few hours' time. But we do pick up a Champions League at the first time of asking, get lots of money, and that is a nice way potentially to end the save. Back-to-back Premier League titles, the domestic treble last season, and now a Champions League in our second season in charge. We pick it up with a 2-0 win over Manchester City. And going forward towards the end of season review for the second and what will be last season of the save, and the second one at Arsenal, and we do have the awards that have come through for the Champions League this past season. Erling Haaland picked up the Player of the Season and the Golden Boot. To be fair, did outperform Mbappe in this competition. In fact, Mbappe not even in the top 3 goal scorers. Young Player of the Season went to Roland from West Ham, but we do have a few players in the Dream Team. Ramsdale is the goalkeeper. In fact, the entire defence is made up of Arsenal players. Singer at right back over Casti, but apart from that, it is our first choice players, and also Martinelli down that left-hand side, filled out with Pedri, Bellingham, Silva, Haaland, and Skamaka of PSG, and also some of the positional award winners. Ramsdale, the goalkeeper of the season, obviously. Defenders, Bamba won that one over Singo. Coop Miners was runner-up in the midfielder of the season, yet for some reason doesn't make his way into that best 11, and no sign of Mbappe. Pretty much just the Golden Boot rankings for the forward of the season, but those were the awards for the Champions League. We'll come back shortly and get stuck in to the end of season review. And we are back for the end of season review, which will also be a little bit of an end of save review. As I said, with me going on holiday in a couple of hours time in real life, don't think there's much point of continuing the save when I do get back from holiday. We might have if I wasn't going on holiday, but I think it's time for us to come back and do one on the winter update. I haven't done that for a few years, of course, with us doing a Build a Nation throughout the course of last year on the channel. But between 30-31, we did pick up the 3 trophies, the Community Shield, the Champions League, and yet again the Premier League. In terms of the signings this season, we didn't make many, but we spent a lot of money on them, albeit the one that was the signing of the season was on a free transfer. Kylian Mbappe was always going to be a bit of a game changer for us. 39 starts, 44 goals, 7 assists, broke Thierry Henry's record at the club. Hard to argue he was not worth pursuing halfway through last season. Also signed Casti, who was very good, although did cost a lot of money. The same can be said for Balde. Khalid El-Bloshy was okay. Actually, bought him because I thought he was homegrown for the Champions League. That was not the case, but still a much better backup defensive midfielder than the likes of Ugarte and Samuel Lokonga, who we did get rid of in the transfer window. We sold lots of players this past one. Some of them actually performed very well away from the club, but we did get some good money for some players who would not have featured this upcoming season, the likes of Pavez, the likes of Benjamin White, Jan Pulak. So we did pretty well in the transfer window, and it did mean overall our net spend wasn't actually that much, even though we did fork out a large amount of money for those free signings alongside Kylian Mbappe. But I think overall, with us winning the Champions League, those transfers did the job that we were aiming for. This season's results really good yet again. In the Premier League, we actually looked like for a little while we might go invincible, albeit as soon as I thought about that, we lost away to West Ham late in January. Our only other loss in the Premier League did come at Anfield, but thankfully got revenge on those guys in the semi-finals of the Champions League. But only those 2 losses in the Premier League season and 8 draws did mean we won the title by 8 points going over to the Champions League. Another rough start in that competition, losing 2-1 on the opening day to Real Madrid, but thankfully off the back of that, did pretty well. That draw against Sporting a little bit concerning, and also a really tough tie in the quarters against Barcelona, but thankfully came from 2-0 down in that second leg to pick up a 3-2 win, got past Liverpool surprisingly easily considering our recent record against those guys, and an extra time in that Champions League final. Thankfully, Man City gave us the upper hand through Edison, and we picked up a 2-0 win in the final. The FA Cup this season, a bit disappointing, knocked out by Brighton in the quarterfinals, albeit we did win that competition last season, so not as disappointed as if that was not the case. The same can be said for the Carabao Cup, losing to Spurs, but thankfully that just meant they ended up losing in the final. Good old Spurs, but again, we won that competition last season, and we did pick up the Community Shield at the start of the year, 2-1 over Liverpool, so we do pick up yet again a treble, albeit this time might be a bit more significant with both the Premier League and the Champions League. The moments to remember, biggest win was at the start of this week, 7-0 over PAOK. The match to remember, a 5-0 win over West Ham in the Prem back in October. That's a very good result, of course, because those guys did finish third in the league this season. And apparently, the goal of the season did come against West Ham in the FA Cup, a 2-1 win, and it was scored by Moise Pelé. Honestly, don't remember this one too much. I think there's another goal which Mbappe scored, which I would have given goal to the season too, but Pelé there is a very good strike into that top left corner. But I think we'll come back off the back of this end of season review once we get through it and show you guys that goal that I was talking about, because it is well worth a watch in one of the games we did not show you, but still a good goal, but probably would have given that one to Kylian Mbappe. We'll show you why shortly, but we'll get through the rest of the season review first. The finances, actually not as good as last season, but we don't mind, still a pretty profitable year with the addition of that extra prize money from the Champions League. And going over to how we lined up, it is pretty much the team that we put out for most of the season as our first choice, so not too much to go over there, but everyone with very good average ratings, which is nice to see. Going forward to the awards, in terms of us as a manager, we did pick up Manager of the Month in the Prem for October and April, as well yet again as the Manager of the Year. In terms of record breakers for the club, as I said, Mbappe broke Thierry Henry's record for most goals in the season of 44. Also Ramsdale most clean sheets with 30, and the highest transfer fee paid was that 90 million for Alejandro Balde. But the fans player of the season, despite all that, is Ibrahima Bamba, which is a little bit surprising, albeit did have the highest average rating of 7.5. The young player of the season, one of our new signings, in Lamine Kassi. We saw some of those other ones before. Top goal scorer, obviously Mbappe. Most assists was Saka with 19. Most man of the matches, also Mbappe. And over to the competition awards. The England player of the year for internationals was Bukayo Saka. Aaron Ramsdale picked up the FIFA Best Men's goalkeeper, and of course the goalkeeper of the season. In the Champions League, you saw Bamba, defender of the season, just a little while ago. In the Premier League, young player of the season did go to Florenzano, who we did bring back to the club once we did sell Jesus on deadline day. That's largely thanks to his work at Leicester City in the first half of the season. But the English Footballer of the Year, the Players Player of the Year, and the top goal scorer in the Premier League did all go to Kylian Mbappe. So it was well worth the effort, as I said, that we did put in to get him halfway through last season on a free transfer going forward. And there's just a little quick blurb about what we did do this past season, and now the dynamic manager timeline. Of course, we did manage 4 clubs during the duration of this save. We started off at Banbridge Town, got those guys promoted in back-to-back seasons, also picked up a win in the Irish Intermediate Cup. Then off the back of our 2 seasons there, once we do get forward a little bit more, we did make the move to Linfield, being one of the favourites in the Premiership, while Banbridge Town were relegation favourites. We picked up most trophies in that season there, and we did continue a little bit further in the season after that, albeit we're always looking at a potential move, having really done all that we could do in Northern Ireland. Off the back of that, we went to a Cardiff team nearly in the relegation zone, got them right on the verge of being promoted to the Premier League in the same season. Unfortunately, though, missed out in a penalty shootout in the playoff final, but the season after that, we did win the championship, got up to the Premier League, and then finished 7th and 5th, I believe it was. It did mean that second season we did earn Champions League football, but off the back of that, both that City job and that Arsenal job did become available, so obviously we did get interested a little bit in that. Man City did go for the former Arsenal manager in Sergio Conceição, and we ended up as his replacement at the Emirates. As I said before, picked up a domestic treble in our first season in charge with the FA Cup, the Premier League, and the Carabao Cup. Spent a lot of money at the start of this season to try and win the Champions League, and thankfully that was the case. So I think that pretty much wraps up this save in a nice little bundle. Not too sure how much of that stuff in that manager timeline is that relevant, but still, it has been a good journey, and hopefully we can have a similar one when the series does come back at the start of FM24, albeit not too sure if we'll do exactly the same region or if we open it up to the entirety of Europe. You guys let me know down in the comments what you would like us to do for this Journeyman save at the start of FM24. Also, we'll just go forward a little bit, not too interested in the team meeting and the club vision and expectations, but we'll have a look at the players inducted into the overall best 11. As you can see, Bamba now in the squad, still quite a few of our players who are at the club, and also Kylian Mbappe, the other new player to make his way into the team after only 1 season. You'd like to think if we did play forward a few more seasons, he would probably take over from Gabriel Jesus up front, but there are quite a few players that we have managed in the last few seasons of this save in that overall Arsenal best 11, and we do end it off the back of a Champions League win. And also we'll just go back and have a look at how those teams that we have managed previously are getting on. First up, we'll go and have a look and see if Cardiff are going to be back in the Premier League for next season. And indeed they are. Marco Rosa somehow kept his job there off the back of getting those guys relegated last season, albeit most of that was down to Mikel Arteta's work, but they finished second in the championships and not winning it, but still doing enough to come back to the Premier League for next season, albeit it is a different looking Cardiff City team to the one that we did leave at the start of last season. Before that, of course, we were at Linfield, who by the looks of it are continuing to dominate Northern Irish football. Having a look at what's happened over the past few seasons while we have been away, they've just been winning it ever since we did leave them after that 1 season. Also interesting to see that Stankovic is now the first choice goalkeeper there and looks to be doing a pretty decent job as well, still quite young at 24 years old. And of course, the first club that we did manage in this save was Banbridge Town, who unfortunately aren't doing too well. Unfortunately, they've ended up back where they started, down in the 3rd tier of Northern Irish football, albeit they did finish second this past season, so I do think that means they did have a chance to get promoted, but unfortunately lost the playoff to Ard. So unfortunately, Banbridge Town did slide back down after that good work that we did do with those guys. It was always going to be tough when they did get to the Premiership, which was the main reason we did jump ship and join Linfield, and unfortunately they are back down where they began, albeit doing a much better job than what they are expected to when we first took over at the very start of this save. But I think that will do it for FMOE. If you guys enjoyed this save, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have enjoyed this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well, so you guys get informed when the next series does start. It will probably be in around 2 weeks once I do get back from my holiday. Also, there will be an experiment type video series which does launch on the channel while I am away. Only 1 video in that series, but do keep an eye out for that one and let me know what you think of that series. And if you do enjoy it, drop a thumbs up on that video as well, so I do know to do more of those experiment type videos. But we'll come back in a few weeks time and get stuck into a one club save. If you enjoy those a bit more, we'll be back with one of those in a couple of weeks time. And until the next time I see you, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.